Hello everyone, happy 4th of July. Welcome to Southern Wreath. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Today I'm going to show you how I made this custom sunflower wreath. These are the supplies I used to make this wreath. I'm going to go ahead and start by painting my M, that way it can dry while I'm working on everything else. I'm just using some paint I picked up at Hobby Lobby along with this letter M. It was already painted white, but my customer wanted it to be yellow. So it's kind of nice to be able to paint over the white, so it already had good coverage, so it stuck really well. Now this is pretty basic. I'm just painting it with the paintbrush, and then I have this smaller paintbrush on the side to do the parts that I can't get with the big paintbrush. I do paint the entire thing, the top, bottom, sides, back. It's probably not necessary to paint the back. I just do it just in case, because you never know, what part of the wreath you're going to see at what point. And I've just always gotten the habit of painting the back of my signs. The fun thing about a wreath like this is you can customize it to whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be a letter. You can just put any kind of sign there. But you could also offer different initials and different styles. There are several different types of fonts out there for wooden signs. They can get pretty expensive when you order them online. So if you're making it to sell, unfortunately that will bump up the price of your wreath. But luckily I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby. If anyone's interested in following me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Southern Wreaths More, on Facebook at Southern Wreaths, and I also have a Facebook group called Southern Wreaths and More. I would love to see any of the wreaths you've made, especially if you do any based on my videos. That would be amazing. I also have all of these links in the description below. Once I set my sign to the side to dry, I'm just going to quickly make a bow using my bow dabra. I'm using this buffalo check. I do go back at the end and make my bow smaller, but I'm just going to basically show you how I make it. And you can measure out the loops to any length that you need for your particular bow. But I'm just making one loop, and then I'll twist it away from myself, and then make a loop on the other side. That's exactly the same size as the other one. And I'm going to do 2 on each side of the buffalo check, and then with the brown, I'm just going to do 2 with tails. I did not add tails with the buffalo, but with this particular one I did. You can either do the tails as you go, or you can do the tails after the fact. I decided to do it as I went. And I'm just going to go ahead and angle cut my ribbon. It's a super simple, really quick bow that you do not need a bow dabber for. Once I got it done and put it on the wreath, it was a bit too long. The loops were too long, so I just went back and made it smaller. That's what's great about using zip ties and pipe cleaners. You can always cut them apart and just rework them. This burlap ribbon was a little flimsy, but once I made the loops smaller, it was a lot easier to work with. Alright, so I'm just going to go through and cut my flowers. I'm trying to keep the leaves on the stems, and I just push them up. And then I had these left over from another project that I did. So I like to keep any kind of greenery that's left over for future things. I hate to throw it away because there's really nothing wrong with it. Alright, I'm going to go through and clean up my grapevine wreath just a little bit. This one I had stored for a while, so it got pretty messy. And I'm basically just cutting off anything that's sticking out too far that I just don't like the way it looks. Some of the things you want to keep because they're kind of cute, like the little curly cues and stuff. So I'm going to start by adding the bow, and that way I can work around it. And I'm just sticking it through the actual grapevine, and then I'll just twist it around itself. And don't worry about positioning right away, because as soon as you get it on there, you can move it where you want it to be. The trick I found with adding the bow first is, one, it saves you from having to use too much because you're not covering up what you don't need to cover up. But I also like the fact that I can puff up the bow by adding things around it. Which of course you can get that same effect by adding everything to it and then putting the bow on top, but then you run the risk of covering up things. I decided the center didn't look good, so I wanted to add a flower to the middle. So I wasn't sure how many sunflowers I was going to use for this wreath, so I'm starting with this base of 5, and that includes the one on the bow. And at the end, I decided to add more. You just kind of have to go with what looks good to you. I hadn't glued any of these in yet. I was just sticking them to figure out how much of the grapevine I wanted to cover in the floral. Okay, so to add my leaves, I basically just pull them off of the stem and I'm gluing them down, and then some of them I'm keeping on the stem. Most of the ones I kept on the stem, I pushed to the top, and then I took another one and glued it on top of that. Not only did that add 2 leaves to each stem, it also created a stopper by putting the hot glue on the end. And this is Gorilla Glue, so it really holds. I made sure I was using a mixture of like a brighter green and a darker green. I didn't have as much of the darker green, which was fine because I didn't want this wreath to be too dark. But I tried to even everything out as best I could. Some of them I wanted puffed up a little bit, so that's the ones I kept on the stick. And then the other ones I wanted to just kind of be as filler. And that's why I just pulled the leaves off and glued them straight to the grapevine. Fun thing about making grapevine wreaths is there's not really any rules. You can do whatever you want. You can make it go all the way around. You can make it on the left side, right side, top, bottom. I mean, the sky's the limit with these. So I noticed that my bow was kind of floppy, so I'm making sure to put the ones with the sticks behind the bow, and this just puffs up the bow so it's not so sad looking. Which of course when it's hanging up, it doesn't really hang back like that, but I really wanted the bow to be prominent. And now just continue adding leaves. I did use several of these. I don't even remember what was on these particular picks, but I'm glad I saved them. And I really do save every single leaf from any of the flowers I use when I don't use the leaves for them. Because not all of them require the leaves, or you just don't like the color of the leaves with that particular flower. So here I'll show you how I just added it on top. So you have 2 leaves and they are secured with the glue on top. And I just put just a stripe of glue and then stick it in there. And then at the end I'll turn it upside down and shake it. And if anything moves around too much, it doesn't usually fall out, but if it moves around too much, like falls out of place, I know to glue it back in. These wreaths are really fun to make and they're super simple. It's just you have to know when to quit because you can get carried away and you can put way too much. But yeah, occasionally I do like to hold it up and make sure I'm filling in all of the spots that need to be filled in. And about this time I decided I was definitely going to add more sunflowers. I didn't like how straight of a line it was, but I wanted to go ahead and add in my accents, the ones that are going to stick out from the wreath. So I'm literally just pulling them right out of the stem. They come out really easily. I like how soft these look. And they're super easy to manipulate, so you can add them wherever you want and move them around. It's just fun having something sticking out. If you were doing something like this for fall, you could add raffia to it. That would be really pretty. These wreaths are fun. You can always customize them to anything you like or anything your customer likes. I believe sunflowers are timeless. They go well with all kinds of holidays as well. You can use them for summer, you can use them for fall. They're always fun. I really like white sunflowers. I did a really pretty one I believe it was last year, a grapevine wreath with white sunflowers. It was so pretty. Okay, so now I decided to add the rest of the sunflowers. I didn't cut them all off yet because I wasn't sure which ones I was going to add. I had planned on maybe being able to make 2 out of the bundle of sunflowers, but I got them at half off, so it wasn't a huge deal that I used the whole thing. And it looks so much better with all of them. Okay, so to add my M, I'm just going to use pipe cleaners and a staple gun. I like to hold the sign up to the grapevine wreath to figure out where to add the pipe cleaners, because wherever the sign lands, where there's a solid piece behind it, that's where I add it. For a wreath like this, you may want to use wire or like a brown pipe cleaner, so that way you can't see the pipe cleaners. I asked my customer after I dropped it off if she wanted me to change it out, but she said once you hang it, you won't be able to see it, so it was no big deal. But if that's something that will bother you, or you think it would bother someone, just go ahead and switch it out for wire or, like I said, brown pipe cleaners. You definitely won't be able to see those. Here I'm just showing you how I feed the pipe cleaners through. I make sure I don't put them through the exact same spot, so I have something to wrap them around on. And then once you get the bottom where you want it, then the top you'll just move around until you're happy with the placement. And then that's where you'll add the pipe cleaners through. And the fun thing about pipe cleaners is you can always undo them and put them where you want. You can play around with it till you're happy. I did make sure I pushed them through the grapevine wreath and not around the outside, just so you wouldn't see it from the outside. And here I'm just going to show you how I hide the pipe cleaners when I'm done. You can either twist it around, or like this one, I just stick it into the wreath. I'm going to do the same with the pipe cleaner with the bow. And that's it. That's how I made my custom sunflower grapevine wreath. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can always email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if y'all learned anything today, or if you like my video, please like, share, and subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.